was. Okay, this Final Fantasy 3 event. We have, on the first banner, there's Luna's OSB. This is an excellent OSB. Not only does it have a good condition, this power can get up really quite high on it. And I believe it's only after like 4 or 5 when you start to see real good returns on it. 4 or 5 wind attacks, wind elemental actions, whatever. So the OSB part of it is fine. It's better than average. But what really makes it stand out is the relic itself. It may be a spear, but it is a 20% wind damage plus spear. Native. Not native. It's all realms, so it's not just limited by realm synergy. So this is an excellent relic, similar to Beatrix's that we just went over. This is the highlight of the banner, and we'll move on. We have Final Fantasy III's only healer BSB, and if it wasn't for the fact that it was the only healer BSB in Final Fantasy III, this would be an utterly forgettable item, and it basically is anyway. The staff itself is not a great relic. It's not one of those holy damage ones. 5 single target, holy non-elemental. Already we have a white mage doing damage with the entry. Not great. This is very rare cases when you're going to want this over some other effect. You know, like valuable things like Stone Skin, or the damage bubble on Ishtola's, or Magic Blink on Sarah's, or Instacast on Vanille's. Not only that, but is limited further still by being only a Cura Medica instead of Curaga. So already we have 2 really low end points, and we have the Vanille entry self-mine 30%, which is actually good. This is one of those interesting things where you don't realize how good it is until you start using the cures on the commands. And using Arc with this, you're probably going to be getting like 17,800 Medicas out of his second command, which is very powerful. But the entry itself leaves a lot to be desired. And I think that's one of the strong points of a lot of the best healer Medicas, is they have a strong entry, providing things that you can't get elsewhere. And that's where Arcs trips up again by having a first option Curaja. I believe it's Curaga plus Asuna, not a Curaja. And we're going to go and check that out right now, just in case. Because I want to be certain of that. Yeah. See, this says restores HP 80. That is a Curaga. Curaja is restore HP 105. So his first command is only a Curaga, and it is a remove negative effects. So it's an Ultra Cure that has a Curaga heal instead of a Curaja heal. So not only is his first command mimicked by a spell that we have in game currently, but it's a weaker version of it. So that's not great. The best part about Arc's burst here is the fact that he gets plus 30% mind, which makes his second command very powerful. This restore HP 25 to everybody generates a lot of healing over time. You just 100% of the time you're going to want to prefer Vanille over this. And a lot of other healer BSBs. This is at the bottom of the pile, unfortunately. But it is the only healer BSB in Final Fantasy III. And if there were no good Super Soul Break Medicas in the realm, then you would want to go for this just for, Sid mission potential, just because it is what it is and it's unique in the realm. But Arc just so happens to have a Super Soul Break 2 that occurs on the second banner, which rivals some healer USBs. That's how powerful it is. So that makes this extra undesirable. Moving on, we have Cloud of Darkness Calcite Staff. This is a plus dark damage staff. Her BSB, 8 single target dark holy Party Radiant Shield. This is fourth source of Radiant Shield that we get, I believe. The fifth would be Tifa's USB, which will show up much later. That's okay. That's pretty cool because this is so rare. And the fact that, you know, occasionally, until this point, the best is generally considered to be Alphino's deployment tactics, which gives plus 30% attack and magic and Party Radiant Shield. There are times where that's just not that great because you're running Onion Knight, and the attack plus magic 30% is also gained there, and they don't stack or anything. So you want it from another source. So this would be a nice source to get it from, possibly, if the commands are worth using. And we're going to check that out right now. We have 4 single target on each command, Dark and Holy on each command. I'd view this as a negative so far. I want to check, because I believe Cloud of Darkness is not capable of summoning, so she doesn't have good AoE capability. So you would like to see an AoE command on their burst. Oh. To rectify that problem. And do we get Summoner? We get Black Magic 5, we get White Magic 4, we do not get any summoning. She gets Darkness and Witch, and Black Magic and White Magic. So, alright, we don't like the fact that these are both 4 times single target. She is not good at dealing with AoE situations, because she's limited to, what, Meteor, Ruinga, Holy, or Ultima. It's not great. Ultima does get a buff eventually, and I don't know. I'm just not going to consider that in any calculation until that buff happens, and we'll see if our Black Crystal intake is good enough to support it, because even with the Ultima buff later on, Meltdown is still probably the best way to use your Black Crystals. So we have 4 times single target, inflict silence a blind, and the second one is stop and paralyze. Yep. No, these commands are pretty bad. Useful in very niche situations, but for the most part, you're basically using it for 4 times single target damage, with no real buffs. She doesn't have an element buff. So yeah, this is not a good burst. Not a good mage burst. They're Dark Holy, there's no non-elemental option. If we want Dark Holy, we want Rains. Yeah, it's just not good. Moving on, Lunith's old hat by now. It's been on quite a few banners. Sorry, I needed to take a drink. The Relic is good. It's just another situation of the OSB Relic is better. But we still don't mind the Relic itself, because it's plus 1 damage spear. It's just 131 attack, 169 attack. There's a fair amount of difference there. And the Dragon Lance can augment 30 times instead of the 20 on the native 5-star gun gear. So his burst is 8 single target wind, sure. 100% stun, don't care. So we got 8 single target wind, non-elemental, and end-wind. Okay, sure. Commands, 4 times single target, cool. 2 times AoE, cool. Thank you. This is what we're looking for. This is a, I don't know what they're calling it nowadays, but we used to call this the Hailstorm buff. Plus 30% attack, minus 30% resistance. The Dark Bargain version of it is minus 30% defense. So this actually stacks with Dark Bargain. And for some crazy reason, which I can't understand, but I love, and Lunith loves, and what makes him one of the better characters in the game, is he can use Dark Bargain. So Dark Bargain will stack with this command, so you can really pump up Lunith's attack. So you would be well advised in doing that. It does ruin his defenses a little bit, but it makes him a huge glass cannon. And it really, really works well with his OSB. So you use this BSB, use all these, attack buffing things. You have for your single target command whenever you need it for the damage. You can recast your BSB because it's great single target damage. And oops, sorry, that is Cloud of Darkness, and it refreshes the M-Win buff. If they're vulnerable to stun, then you're in the clear because you got that on both the command and the entry. But it's really just stacking those attack buffs, doing massive damage, and then unleashing with your OSB at the end of the battle for a ton of damage because you used a ton of wind attacks, which pumps up its potential. So this is the combo we're looking for already on the banner. Lunith's things. Lunith is an awesome character in the game, and he gets a great burst with a great OSB. It's probably top 2 physical OSBs in the game right now. I'm pretty sure Orlando's is the only one that's better. Next on the list we have Cloud of Darkness COD Cloak. It's going to be called something different in the global, but I believe this is a plus dark damage cloak. It is light armor, 17 magic, and symmetrical defense and resistance. So it's light armor. AoE, Dark Holy, and Dark. She doesn't have a really good way to use this Undark. There's nothing that she does that's particularly high damage for it. And it's a mage without support access, so she can't generate a lot of bar to use it. This is only good in a full throttle torment situation when you can cast this at the start of a boss fight and then immediately follow up with their burst and start using that. Otherwise, this is just junk, and it's a fairly decent relic, but it's coming to the point where plus dark damage armor is becoming a dime a dozen. So I'm not even all that hot on that anymore. So this is not a good relic. Gaia's Blade. This is arguably number 3 on the banner, even though it's really awesome. The only reason it's number 3 is because Luna's OSB is number 1, and it works so well with Luna's BSB. Otherwise, I would place this as a usefulness perspective ahead of Luna's BSB. It is the first and I believe the only pure plus earth damage sword that's not gated by realm synergy. It's 8 single target earth non-elemental damage with the very much coveted minus 50% attack and magic debuff. This is also present on old and exceptional staples like Fang's High Wind, or I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, High Wind, and Argrea's Cleansing Strike, and I believe there's another one, but it's a very, very valuable status. And it's on an awesome and unique relic, and it's on Ingus, who is one of the better characters in the game due to his skill set. So this is definitely number 3 on the banner so far, and I highly doubt there's going to be anything that removes it. Refia, Rising Stun. This is a thrown weapon. It's the explanation for its low attack, plus the fact that it's quite old by now. Blazing Fist, even though it's a thrown weapon. 8 single target damage. So just pure physical, non-elemental. Self-haste, attack defense 30%. This is pretty neat, I guess, but more I think people are looking at this as a stat stick for Refia in submission scenarios, and that's basically it. You're looking for this if you got Refia's BSB and you want something great to use her with. It's a good weapon because her BSB is armor. But by itself, not that great anymore. May never have. It may never have been a good thing by itself. Ferris SB has a AoE version. Ferris's is Sea Lord Broadside is minus 40%. That's why I didn't mention it. A lot of supports have the AoE minus 40% attack and magic, but the minus 50% is a little more unique. Let's see, Ark's first Super Soul Break, which is a decent Super Soul Break. a little dated at this point because we have so many ways to get a lot of this stuff except for the magic blink. But good in Sid mission scenarios because this allows you to do a lot of things. And magic blink is something that never goes out of style. You like to have it. So this is a pretty good Super Soul Break, but you know, not a real win for a modern banner. Yeah. So Heroic Shields is the oldest. This is the only regular Soul Break on the banner. Plus the 9 is not an elemental damage up. Minor resistance to blind. Protect and haste. I mean, it's a realm haste, I guess. But beyond that, it's really old and not that desirable. So yeah, we're not really thrilled with these bottom 3. We love Angus. Cloud of Darkness, no good. These 2 bursts are, you know, at the top of banner, you want things that have more potential outside of the realm, but neither of these really do. We have so many better options in these for every situation that these would be applicable in. You know, except if you need to inflict stop repeatedly, I guess, for the one time that happens. So Lunith, Angus, and then it's dead from there. Why I would roll on this banner if the second banner doesn't appeal to me because I have dupes of the best things on it. You want to pump up Lunith because he's an awesome character, probably one of the better physical units, and is one of the better physical units in the game. And you want a chance at this little ditty right here. So these 3 relics are the only ones that I really care for on it. Moving on to the second banner. We have something that was debuted in the current festival. Onion Knight's OSB. It's a minor Petrify resist and an RS minor instant death resist. We don't really care about this, but this is actually sort of useful. When you have Realm Synergy, this will give you minor resist to gravity attacks. Not, you know, we know by now that instant KO also applies to attacks that take away health or take away damage based on your current or max HP. It's only minor, but status resists stack, so you could stack this with a moderate resist accessory, and it would be quite effective at stopping gravity attacks. Unfortunately, this is the RS, and this is active all the time, so, you know, I'm not going to really view this as much of a plus. It's not at all. It's, As for the OSB itself, let's see, the Relic, 1414, 179 defense and 121 resistance. This is pretty good armor. I believe it's heavy armor, though. We'll check. Love I can search Onion and only, wow, 8 things come up? Yeah, because his name, okay, sure. Onion armor is heavy armor. So, good stat stick, but not usable by all that many people. Or as much as you would like light armor would be better. Anyway, the OSB itself, we've all seen it used in many Nemesis strategies. It's still good, but not because it's a good OSB, because it's not. It's pure non-elemental, but it does morph itself to physical or magical depending on you know, which flavor he's playing at the moment. What makes it good is if you have his Bursal Break, and that's what you use during the battle, and you would, instead of recasting his Bursal Break, you would cast his OSB at the end of the battle. So it gives you a better option that would overtake the usefulness of Vessel of Fate at certain points in the battle. So it's good to have both. Alone, this is not useful. And that stinks. Fortunately, his Bursal Break is on the banner, so you have a chance to roll for both at once. Desh's Avenger is actually a very, very good Mage Burst. The opener is AoE Lightning Non-Elemental, whatever. and lightning, you know, whatever. We already know. This is a classic an element mage burst. But our commands are where it shines. It's the only, as far as I know, lightning burst until we get Rafa's that has a second command that gives him what is the status? Why I get brain farting. I keep thinking Dark Bargain, but I know that's attack. Anyway, it gives you the plus 30% magic, minus 30% defense on the AoE option, and we've all seen this command before. And where it really comes into its own is the first cast, or the first command, which has self quick cast magic 1. This isn't Alphanos, and it's not Rains with their instacast statuses, but it's still very good, and it's the only one of its kind for lightning. It is the only one of its kind for lightning, even though Shantoto can mimic it a little bit. Shantoto can't do as much damage as Desh, though. That's her problem, and that's why I don't really care for Shantoto's BSB that much. You'd much rather this when you're doing damage. Rafa is similar in the fact that it's a really great lightning burst, but it's not focused on dealing as much damage as this is. And Desh is a good character because he's one of those coveted mages that can use support 4. So you don't need to start him out with Mako Might or Dr. Mark's teachings. So you can just throw him on a team and he can be self-sufficient in his Soul Break Gauge generation. So, you know, throw Wrath on him, get him going all on his own, and save your Mako Might and your Dr. Mark's teachings for other people. And that's probably the key in why Desh's burst is so good, is because of that support 4. And the fact that it does have really good commands at the same time. Moving on, we have Ingus's BSB. This showed up in the last Final Fantasy III event. But it's still actually quite powerful. It was OP then, and now it's just powerful. It is one of those, like Gilgamesh and Oron and someone else that I'm forgetting. It's one of those night bursts that enable the user to better take advantage or easily use and still have ability slots, use Retaliate and draw fire. So the Tauntaliate combination. But we're going to open up by saying this 12, I believe, is minor. Low chance to inflict Petrify on hit, on armor. I guess that's unique, but other than that, you know, no. Stay away. We don't care about the relic at all. AoE Earth non-elemental damage. Self-attack defense 30%. This is a unique status we call it the Oathsworn Espada status. So this will stack with buffs like Hand of the Emperor or Apocalypse Shield for Bosch that give you attack and defense 30%. It will stack with those because this is actually a unique status that's not noted here. It gives an Earth at the same time, and it's the only one of those Tauntaliate night bursts that gives an element. So it's more focused on dealing damage than the others. That's a nice addition. And the fact that it gives you an attack buff at the same time. So this is a DPS Tauntaliate burst. And let's go to the commands and see if it helps us out any with that there. Here we got our 2 commands. Unfortunately, Ingus can't do AoE damage, but it's a lot easier for Ingus to do AoE damage than it is for a pure Black Mage. So that's not that much of a detriment. You would have preferred it, but there is always Aegis Strike. You know, I'm not going to include that because I omitted using Ultima on the Black Mage. I guess it's more sane because you're not... Like, the reason why Ultima is so tough to use is because it uses those black crystals that we use on Meltdown. But Aegis Strike doesn't have that limitation. It's one of those build-in abilities that we unlock with moats. So it is still a viable ability for honing. Because the conflicts mean less because you can generate the ability itself. But here's a neat thing about his. It's just identical commands, and the only thing that's different about them, with the 2 times not Earth, not Elemental, is the first one gives Sentinel, which is, it's the Draw Fire plus Magic Lure, except it only gets the defensive buff from Draw Fire, I believe. Actually, it's better than Draw Fire. Draw Fire gives you plus 100% defense, while Sentinel, I believe, gives you plus 200% defense. And I'm going to check that for you. Draw Fire, defense plus 100%, taunt single target physical attacks. Sentinel is defense plus 200%, taunt single target black or physical and black attacks. Sentinel is an awesome status. And the second command is Retaliate. So you have the option of just using the second command if you don't want to use Sentinel, because Retaliate is a fairly good status all on its own, even without Draw Fire. Of course, the combo is meant to be used together, but a lot of people don't realize the actual text on the Retaliate status is can't be hit by physical attacks, and counters physical attacks with attack. That's neat. So if you don't want to use Sentinel, because sometimes that's dangerous. He may pump up his defense. He may be a knight. He has a lot of natural defense. But say the boss is using single target black attacks, which would be taunted by Sentinel, that ignore resistance. That could chew through Ingus really quickly. So you don't always want to have Sentinel active, which is why it's beneficial to not be forced to use it. And that's one of the misgivings I have with Gilgamesh's Burst Soul Break, which gives Sentinel on the burst cast itself, and for Beatrix's Burst Soul Break, which her only holy option to take advantage of her Imperial Holy on the entry is the Sentinel causing one, and her second command is just non-elemental. That's why we generally consider Agrace's Burst to be better, even though they're almost identical. So this is a high damage burst that gives you the Tauntaliate combo and pumps up his attack and defense. I mean, think about it. By using the Sentinel command and the opener itself for the Oathsworn Espada, you're getting Burst Mode for 20% defense. You're getting Oathsworn Espada, the status for 30% defense and 200% defense for it with Sentinel. He becomes a beef tank. As well as doing a lot of damage. More damage than any of the other Tauntaliate tanks can do. This is why I like the burst, and is one of the reasons why I plan on pulling on this banner, because I really like all 3 bursts on the banner. And we'll see if the lower end lives up to it after that. But here we go. Onion Knight Burst Soul Break is next. Onion Gauntlets, I didn't even... No, yeah, minor resistance of blind. I guess that's cool. It is kind of cool. But with us using like elemental armor instead of synergy armor and stuff like that these days, it's not... I guess it's okay, because that status defense will stack with an accessory. Yeah, you know, if it were anything but blind, yeah. But we have so many major blind resist accessories that this isn't that useful. Coming up, we got Stat Stick, it's Bracers, whatever. Party, we all know what Onion Knight does. Attack magic 30% and haste to the party. This enables parties to do what you want them to do. So you bring him along, and then you stack the party without what suits the fight at hand. And he's an enabler. He does a lot of things by himself that allows your party to get to what they're doing. You could even bring, it's just Onion Knight can do so many things. You prefer to use his second command instead of his first command, so he works better as a mage. So it says Quick Cut 4 times single target physical. Next physical damage action is Instacast, so instant physical attacks. Well, the second one is a copy of that, just instant magical attacks. The thing is, the way damage scaling works, the second command does so much more damage than the first. So he works better as a mage if you want to deal damage, but you always have the option of running Onion Knight as a physical as well, which is good because he can dive to support 5. And he's the only support 5 available in Final Fantasy 3. So it's a smart dive to make. That's the Onion Knight, and that is the theme of the Onion Knight, is versatility and taking over so many things at once that enables your other 4 characters to do what they do best. And that's what makes Onion Knight's Burst Soulbreak arguably one of the top 3 relics in the entire game, even though what it does is relatively simple. So moving on, we have Onion Blade. I had 3 of these before I combined them all. I got them in the last event trying to go after the Onion Knight Burst Soulbreak and failing. It is a good Super Soulbreak. It's not bad. You're generally at level 99, which you should have Onion Knight, because his level scaling is so huge. There's even a big difference between him at level 98 and 99. He will do 10 attacks, single target attacks with Onion Slice, and this is a physical Super Soulbreak. The number of hits increases based on speed. The only way you can unlock the 11th attack is by having the extra speed of being in burst mode. So this used to be the old Onion Knight OSB before his real OSB was released. You would use him as a physical, and then at the end of the fight, while in burst mode, you would use this, do 11 attacks, and reduce the enemy's defense and resistance by 50%, and just really accelerate the end of the fight. So you'd use this, and then immediately use everyone else's, damaging soul breaks after. And this was the old Onion Knight OSB. I'm not sure how viable this is now with his OSB being in the game, but it's still a good replacement for him being physical if you do not get his OSB. Since Nemesis is gone, I'm not, this isn't as good as it used to be, so I wouldn't ever chase this OSB. So it's nice to have this. Whatever. It's a good Super Soul Break, but it's not why we're pulling on the banner. That's all. It's not so good that it makes the banner desirable. It's just an iffy 50-50 consolation prize. So moving on, we get another that's arguably the same. We like this for the plus 10 magic. The relic itself, Mire Resistance to Silence, whatever. It's a staff, so it's not as valuable as it being on armor. Blowback 5 times AoE non-elemental, Medica of 40% of everyone's max AP, 40% of everyone's max HP. You'd probably use this in the same situation as Onion Slice if you're dealing with a high damage last phase, instead of recasting as Burst Soul Break. But, this is the theme here, is none of this is any good for the Onion Knight if you don't have his burst. And yeah, this has a lot less use in my eyes than Onion Slice. However, since he does work best as a mage, you may be able to do more damage with this, I guess. Alright, and I mentioned Ark's White Mage Robe on the first banner, and that he has a Super Soul Break, this is the second one, that rivals some healer USBs. And you'll now see why. The White Mage Robe itself is a plus holy damage robe, which is very good because it is magic and mind. So this can be used on your Sid Reigns. This is an excellent armor for Sid Reigns when you want him to do holy damage instead of dark damage, because he has the option to go both. But the mind is probably where you're gonna use it the most, because offensive white mages will love this, or Hope, the weirdo holy mage. Doesn't Cloud of Darkness have Holy Dark too? Yeah, she does. So it goes there too. So there's a few people, and this is a really great stat stick. I'm gonna be honest. I want to draw 3 of these. When I spend my 100 mithril on this banner, I want to get what I want in the Burst Soul Break category, but if there's 3 Arc Robes, mingled in there, I'll be totally cool with that. Because I really would love this as an 8-star relic. The Soul Break itself is also great. 0 cast time Medica. Okay. Curaja Medica. That's the 80... or Curaga Medica, sorry. That's awesome. And Party Physical Blink. Yes. This is a lot better than a lot of healer USBs. Because this has 3 useful effects on it. 0 cast time, Curaga Medica, and Physical Blink. They're generally you're going to see 4 effects lined up on healer USBs, but some healer USBs are so bad that 2 of the effects are just useless or mimicked by abilities that you can cast. So they're just not that all that useful. And that's why having 3 really good abilities on a Super Soul Break makes it better than those. So this is an excellent, excellent relic. So moving on after that, we have the Ancient Sword, which was released in the last... Has this been around for 2 Final Fantasy 3 events? I seem to remember this having, this being... No, I think it debuted in the second banner last event too. Or anyways, this is a magic sword for Dash, just like his Avenger is. They're both swords. He's a sword mage. I think someone mentioned that in chat. I just haven't been paying attention to chat that much. I apologize. Low chance to paralyze on hit. Great. I'm glad we have that on a mage sword. Though I think on hit means abilities too. So I guess. I mean, it's paralyzed, whatever. Anyway, magic, Super Soul Break itself, 6 times single target random, which is good because it's an Imperil Lightning Super Soul Break. Lightning non-elemental, self magic 30%. This is a pretty good Super Soul Break, and the best we've seen on the banner yet, other than the Word of Kindness. I think I would want this because it's something that obviously in order to enable the character you need Dash's BSB. Just having this alone is not that great. You could bring him along for a lightning crew, and he does have that wrath access, so I guess, oh god, I just don't like using straight up Super Soul Breaks with mages. But since he has that wrath access, I'm not that unhappy about it. So this isn't bad. This is good. I like it. Anyway, if you plan on running a mage team, for a lightning mage team, this is actually pretty decent. Jimbo says, would you ever even use it with his BSB though? With his BSB, yes, but not in a regular fight situation. Only a Torment or Full Throttle situation. Or, like a Nemesis, in a situation where you're able to generate a whole bunch of Soul Break. If the only Soul Break I'm able to cast within 25 seconds, if I'm only generating 1 gauge within that 25 seconds, I would only ever use his burst, yes. So it's not that useful outside of that. Rose's USB is incredible. It's awesome, and it debuts in the next festival, and I hope that the banner it shows up on is nice. If Realms BSB shows up on that banner, yes. Dash's Gauntlet suck. It's a party defense or attack defense 30% or 35%, but it costs him 50% of his max HP to use it. Max, not current, max. It sucks. You don't